भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवति उत्तमं श्लोके भक्तेर्भवति नैष्टिकी. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 15, King Prithu's appearance and coronation, text number 9, 10 onwards. So Maharaj Prithu has been born and everybody is glorifying him, welcoming him. In the previous verse, it says conch shells, bugles, drums, kettle drums vibrated in outer space. Great sages, forefathers, and personalities from the heavenly planets all came to earth from various planetary systems to greet Maharaj Prithu because he was the Shaktivesh avatar of the Supreme Lord. So Maitreya Muni further says, Brahma Jagat Guru Deva Sahasritya Sureshwara Vanyasya Dakshine Haste Drishtva Chinnam Gadabhrita Padyor Arvindam Cha Tamve Mene Hare Kalam Yasya Pratihatam Chakram Ansha Saparmeshtinna. Oh, okay, I think we covered this yesterday. Lord Brahma, the master of the entire universe, arrived there accompanied by all the demigods and the chiefs. Seeing the lines of Lord Vishnu's palm on King Prithu's right hand and impressions of lotus flowers on the soles of his feet, Lord Brahma could understand that King Prithu was a partial representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One whose palm bears the sign of a disk as well as other such lines should be considered a partial representation or incarnation of the Supreme Lord. So Lord Brahma himself arrived there, accompanied by all the demigods and the chiefs, so to welcome Maharaj Prithu. So text 11. तस्याभिषेक आरब्धो ब्राह्मणैर ब्रह्मवादिभिः आभिषेच्य निकायस्मै Ajah Sarvato Janaha. The learned Brahmins who were very attached to Vedic ritualistic ceremonies then arranged for the king's coronation. People from all directions collected all the different paraphernalia for the ceremony. Thus everything was complete. Sarit Samudra Giryo Naga Gava Khaga Mriga Dyokshiti Sarva Bhutani Samajaha. All the rivers, seas, hills, mountains, serpents, cows, birds, animals, heavenly planets, the earthly planet, and all of the living entities collected various presentations according to their ability to offer to the king. So everybody appeared because king himself is a partial representation of the Supreme Lord. So everybody wanted to make their offerings. Swabhishikto Maharaja Suvasa Sadvalankritaha Patanyarchisha Lankritya Virejir Agnir Ivaparaha. Thus the great King Prithu, exquisitely dressed with garments and ornaments, was coronated and placed on the throne. The king and his wife Archi, who was also exquisitely ornamented, appeared exactly like fire. Tasmai Jahara Dhanado Hemam Veeravarasanam Varuna Salila Sravam Atapatram Shashi Prabham. The great sage continued, My dear Vidura, Kuvera presented the great king Prithu with a golden throne. The demigod Varuna presented him with an umbrella that constantly sprayed fine particles of water and was as brilliant as the moon. Because they were, first of all the demigods, they were so disturbed by Vena because he stopped the sacrifices. So demigods were not getting their share, and Mother Earth was terrified of Vena because of his sinful nature and sinful rule. So when they saw King Prithu, and who's the Shaktivesh avatar of the Supreme Lord himself, so they were jubilated, they were very happy. They themselves are presenting so many things to King Prithu. Vayuscha val vyajane dharma kirti mayam srijam Indra kiritam utkrishtam dandam sayamanam yamaha. The demigod of air, Vayu, presented King Prithu with 2 whisks, charmers of hair. The king of religion, Dharma, presented him with a flower garland which would expand his fame. The king of heaven, Indra, presented him with a valuable helmet. Well, actually, it's more like a crown. And the superintendent of death, Yamaraj, presented him with a scepter, actually, with which to rule the world. So he gave him dandam, dharma dandam, or yam dandam. Brahma mayam varma bharati haram uttamam hari sudarshanam chakram tat patanya vyahatam shriyam. Lord Brahma presented King Prithu with a protective garment made of spiritual knowledge. Bharati Saraswati, the wife of Brahma, gave him a transcendental necklace. Lord Vishnu presented him with the Sudarshan disc, and Lord Vishnu's wife, the goddess of fortune, gave him imperishable opulences. All the demigods presented various gifts to King Prithu. Hari, an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, known as Upendra in the heavenly planet, presented the king with a Sudarshan disc. It should be understood that this Sudarshan disc is not exactly the same type of Sudarshan disc used by the Personality of Godhead, Krishna or Vishnu. Since Maharaj Prithu was a partial representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's power, the Sudarshan disc given to him represented the partial power of the original Sudarshan disc. So he did not get the original chakra, he got partial power or expansion of that Sudarshan chakra, the original Sudarshan chakra. But it had partial power, not the original power. Daschandram asim rudra shatachandram tathambika Somo Amritamaya Nasha Twashta Rupa Shriyam Ratham. Lord Shiva presented him with a sword made within a sheath marked with 10 moons. And his wife, the goddess Durga, presented him with a shield marked with 100 moons. The moon demigod presented him with horses made of nectar. And the demigod Vishwakarma presented him with a very beautiful chariot. Agniraja Gavam Chapam Suryo Rashmi Mayanishun Bhupaduke Yogamayu Deho Pushpavali Manvaham. The demigod of fire, Agni, presented him with a bow made of horns of goats and cows. The sun god presented him with arrows as brilliant as sunshine. The predominating deity of Bhur-loka presented him with slippers full of mystic power. The demigods from outer space brought him presentations of flowers again and again. This verse describes that the king's slippers were invested with mystic powers. Paduke Yoga Mayo. Thus, as soon as a king placed his feet in the slippers, they would immediately carry him wherever he desired. Mystic yogis can transfer themselves from one place to another, whenever they desire. A similar power was invested in the slippers of King Prithu. So won't we want to have these slippers? At least I can come to India whenever I want to. No coronavirus, no going through the immigration or any other problems. But one has to be as pure and as powerful as Maharaj Prithu. नाट्यं सुगीतं वादित्रं मन्तरधानं च खेचरः ऋष्यश्चाशिषः सत्यः समुद्रः शङ्खमात्मजम्. The demigods who always travel in outer space gave King Prithu the arts to perform dramas, sing songs, play musical instruments, and disappear at his will. The great sages also offered him infallible blessings. The ocean offered him a conch shell produced from the ocean. See, Maharaj Vena also was installed as a king, enthroned. But nobody appeared at that time to present him all such things. At least it's not mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. But since they all understood King Prithu is the Shaktivish avatar of the Supreme Lord himself, everybody is coming forth with their own blessings and with their own gifts for the Maharaj to use, for Maharaj Prithu to use. So they also knew how was King Vena and how was Maharaj Prithu. Sindhva parvato nadyo rathvitir mahatmanah sutovat magado vandi tam stotum upatasthire. The seas, mountains and rivers gave him room to drive his chariot without impediments. And a Sut, a Magad and a Vandi offered prayers and praises. They all presented themselves before him to perform their respective duties. So the seas, mountains and rivers gave him room to drive his chariot without impediments. Because he is going to go all over the place on his chariot. So he didn't want any impediments. Stavakastan abhipretya prithurvanyah pratapavan megnihi vacha prahasanyam idam abravit. Thus, when the greatly powerful King Prithu, the son of Vena, saw the professionals before him to congratulate them, he smiled, and with gravity of the vibrating sounds of cloud, he spoke as follows. Prithuruvacha bhausut he magat somya vanden loke adhuna spashta gunasya mesyat himashru me stavesha yojyatam ma maye bhuvan vitatha girovaha. King Prithu said, O gentle Sut, Magad, and other devotee offering prayers, the qualities of which you have spoken are not distinct in me. Why then should you praise me for all these qualities when I do not shelter these features? I do not wish for these words meant for me to go in vain, but it is better that they be offered to someone else. The prayers and praises by Sut and Magad and Vandi are all explained the godly qualities of Maharaj Prithu, for he was the Shaktavesh incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because the qualities were not yet manifest, however, King Prithu very humbly asked why the devotees should praise him with such exalted words. He did not want anyone to offer him prayers or glorify him unless he possessed the real qualities of which they spoke. The offering of prayers was certainly appropriate, for he was an incarnation of Godhead. But he warned that one should not be accepted as an incarnation of personality of Godhead without having the godly qualities. At the present moment, there are many so-called incarnations of the personality of Godhead. But these are merely fools and rascals whom people accept as incarnations of God, although they have no godly qualities. King Prithu desired that his real characteristics in the future might justify just such words of praise. Although there was no fault in the prayers offered, Maharaj Prithu indicated that such prayers should not be offered to an unfit person who pretends to be an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Maharaj Prithu, he asked Sut, Magad and Vandi, they were glorifying him, they were praising him, praising the wonderful qualities that he has and the wonderful work that he's going to do. But he stopped them. He said, no, I haven't done anything yet. And to show the qualities, he had to also do the work. So he said, I'm not qualified right now for you to offer me all these praises. So through this, Maharaj Prithu is showing to the world that don't just accept anybody as an incarnation. There should be some qualities and there should be some work done by him to show that he is really an incarnation. Tasmat parokshe asmat upshutanyalam karishyat stotram api chivachah satiyuttam shloka gunanuvade jugupsitam nastavyanti sabhyah. O gentle reciters, offer such prayers in due course of time, and the qualities of which you have spoken actually manifest themselves in me. The gentle who offers prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead do not attribute such qualities to a human being who does not actually have them. Gentle devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead know perfectly well who is God and who is not. Non-devotee impersonalists, however, who have no idea what God is and who never offer prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are always interested in accepting a human being as God and offering such prayers to him. This is the difference between a devotee and a demon. Demons manufacture their own gods, or a demon himself claims to be God, following the footsteps of Ravan and Hiranyakashipu, or even if we can say Vena also. Although Prithu Maharaj was factually an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he rejected those praises because the qualities of the Supreme Person were not yet manifest in him. So he is telling them, wait till all those qualities become manifest. He wanted to stress that one who does not actually possess these qualities should not try to engage his followers and devotees in offering him glory for them, even though these qualities might be manifest in the future. If a man does not factually possess the attributes of a great personality, engages in his followers in praising him with the expectation that such attributes will develop in the future, that sort of praise is actually an insult. So we should be honest, actually, not just for Maharaj Prithu. Through this example, Krishna is trying to tell us that even for devotees, we should be honest. If we really see those, just because if somebody has put on dhoti kurta and nice tilak and speaks nicely, doesn't mean he's a great devotee, or he is even a devotee. So once somebody shows the devotional qualities of humility, tolerance, patience, and all the wonderful qualities that have been studying so far, and once he does some work of a devotee, and really good work, then he's worthy of the praise. So one should try to understand. And in fact, for Supreme Personality of Godhead, and there's like Prabhupada also mentioned, there's so many so-called incarnations roaming around in the cities and towns and the villages. But they're not God. And people just throng them and worship them. And in the end, they find out this is not God or even godly person, and then the faith is lost, and whole sort of nonsense things happen. So to recognize a devotee or God, incarnation of God, one has to refer to the scriptures. And one should praise or follow or glorify that person only once he manifests those qualities. Mahad gunanatmani kartum ishah kah stavakah stavyate asato api Tesya bhavishyanniti vipralabdho janavahasam kumatir naveda. How could an intelligent man, competent enough to possess such exalted qualities, allow his followers to praise him if he did not actually have them? Praising a man by saying that if he were educated, he might have become a great scholar, great personality is nothing but a process of cheating. A foolish person who agrees to accept such praise does not know that such words simply insult him. Prithu Maharaj was an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as Lord Brahma and other demigods had already testified when they had presented the king with many heavenly gifts. Because he had just been coronated, however, he could not manifest his godly qualities in action. Therefore, he was not willing to accept the praise of the devotees. So-called incarnations of Godhead should therefore take lessons from the behavior of King Prithu. Demons without godly qualities should not accept false praise from their followers. And if they do, as Prabhupada said earlier, it's like an insult. If they do accept such praise from their followers, then chances are they'll get puffed up, they'll get proud. And instead of developing those wonderful qualities, they might develop negative qualities. Just like Maharaj Vena. He was on the throne, and when the sages went to give him good counsel, first they glorified him. And Vena was so proud. He liked those glories, but he didn't like the lessons that the sages were going to give him. So that is the difference between demons and devotees. Prabhavo hi atmanah stotram jugupsantyapi vishvataha ha param modara parusham va vigarhitam. As a person with a sense of honor and magnanimity does not like to hear about his abominable actions, a person who is very famous and powerful does not like to hear himself praised. In fact, in Vrindavan, once Srila Prabhupada was there, and after morning program, he was leaving. He had to go somewhere, and then one devotee, Prabhupada disciple, he went to Prabhupada while Prabhupada was walking towards the car, and he started glorifying and praising Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada just stopped him in his tracks by saying, "Why don't you go and do something useful?" And that's it. And Prabhupada left. So a devotee actually doesn't like to be praised, because he knows that whatever he has done or whatever he is doing is actually the mercy of Krishna. Nothing else. Nothing should be given as a credit to the devotee. Of course, our job is to give credit to the devotee. Our job is to praise and glorify the devotee. But here, Prithu Maharaj is setting an example that only when he has done something, not before that. And also that praise should come from the heart. Should come from the heart in the sense that it should not be just a lip service. Or in the heart we have all kinds of envy against that person. But as a matter of etiquette or as a matter of show, we praise that person. But in our heart, it's all full of jealousy and enviousness. So how can that praise? Actually, when we praise somebody, first of all, the qualities, the good qualities in that person, we develop some of those to a certain extent. And then secondly, one can only praise when one is grateful, one is humble. A proud person doesn't praise anybody without any motivation. So a humble heart, a grateful heart only can praise somebody. Somebody's qualities. Only when we are humble, we can see those qualities. So the praising really helps. And also, many times we like to speak badly about devotees, speak harshly to devotees. So that is like drinking poison. And praising a devotee, glorifying a devotee for his qualities and for the services that he has done is like drinking nectar. The one who has had plenty of poison, he should drink lots of nectar by praising the devotee, especially the devotee that he has blasphemed. Then Krishna is pleased with that person. Vayam tva vidita loke sutadhyapi varimabhi karmabhi katham atmanam gapayashyam balavat. King Prithu continued, my dear devotees, headed by the Suta, just now I'm not very famous for my personal activities because I have not done anything praiseworthy you could glorify. Therefore, how could I engage you in praising my activities? Exactly like children. Means children in their sense means they're innocent. So do not just praise, let me do some activities. So here ends the 15th chapter of 4th canto. So tomorrow is Radhashtami. And here in the temple, the program is in the evening. So I'm planning to go there in the evening. So tomorrow won't have a class. So also, I'm sure you all are planning to have Japathan for Radhashtami. So please continue with that and we'll see you day after tomorrow. Thank you all very much. Anybody has any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mata.
Happy Radha Ashtami.
Thank you, Mata. To you too.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Chalo, I guess we can stop here. You all have a wonderful and safe day. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you very much. Jai Shri
Happy Radha Ashtami, Prabhuji.
Nice to meet you, everyone.